Visualizing, paddling out and making it real. Dedication, on a level only you can feel. Motivation, it gets stronger every year. Realization, action cures fear. The Surfcast, yeah. Well, all right, here we are, coming in live and direct, Guanacaste, Costa Rica, with the first episode of the Surfcast. I'm your host, TR. Here with my co-host, Hersch. What up, Hersch dog?
Well, I'm just psyched to be here and have the opportunity to share experiences with our castaways and hopefully entertain you guys and inspire.
Well, I think you're well qualified to do that, being that you've committed your life to surfing. You surf more than anybody I know, and you're stoked as anybody I know, so it's always a pleasure to surf with you, and really an honor to do this podcast format project with you.
Yeah, I couldn't be more stoked either, brah. Utmost respect for you too, as I've watched your videos and all seen a lot of your photos since I've grown up, and you've been inspirational to me as well. And you're probably one of the reasons what's gotten me so psyched to be in the water more often than not.
Well, a lot of mutual stoke going on here, but where did it all start for you? I know that you're from Florida. I know people from Florida are psyched. Sprinkle a little of the East Coast magic on this conversation.
Well, yeah, over in Florida, we only get waves like maybe half the year, but our description of waves could be different than from most. Anything that's, shin to knee high, we use body parts over there to judge waves. That's rideable surf, and I think that's why Florida people are so frothed out, and East Coast in general, we're just happy to be on it when there's swell. And you got to strike it while the iron's hot, and if you wait a day, you could be too late.
Let's take it all the way back to the beginning. How old were you when you started surfing?
Well, I was riding those rental rafts since I was 5 years old or whatever, but surfing, I think I was 10. I bought my first board for $25, and it was a 6'3" single fin. And I remember the first wave I caught, I just got it to my knees. I didn't want to put any pressure on myself. And I just remember the feeling the glide of like, oh my God, this is insane. Okay, next wave, I'm standing up. I stood right up, and Chris Hawkins, good buddy of mine, was the guy that taught me how to surf that day, and one of my best friends at the time. And so since then I ended up graduating up to the echelon upper down south towards Ponce Inlet more, because I was in Daytona Beach where that happened, and got inspired by a lot of the locals there. Scott Brill, this guy was just ahead of his time, and we were watching this guy do sick stuff way back in the day. Probably like Kevin Reed of your area in Santa Cruz. He was just really good surfer. So I was super inspired by all these great surfers. Between Smyrna and Ponce Inlet, there was just such a talent pool and a long legacy of great surfers. So that really helped mold me to be the person I am and the surfer I am. That's then after that, I ended up traveling to Costa Rica, first time 92, and made it an annual thing. Spring break, it was actually summer break after college, and then each trip got longer and longer, and then next thing you know, I just landed in Costa Rica.
Was there a flashpoint when you said, okay, that's it, I'm leaving the States forever and I'm going to go live and surf in the tropics?
Yeah, I joke about that with people, because it was November of 99, and I said, oh, with the Y2, I tell people, they said, what got you to leave? And I said, Y2K scared me. Like, I thought, if the computers fail, the waves will still break and the bananas will still grow. So I just said, I'm going down, and I had a 3-month ticket. And I went to Matapalo down right Point Break across from Pavones, and had a Thanksgiving dinner with these locals, no power. They had the cooking over open flame. It was the most meaningful Thanksgiving I ever had, especially being away from family. And anyways, it just organically happened. Besides the fact when New Year's struck and everything was working fine, I thought, oh, this is a bonus. And then 2 days later, I struck a job. I nailed a job bartending in Costa Rica at a freaking hotel right in Hermosa. Fuego del Sol. Hawaiian Tom hired me and worked a few months doing that, and then became a tour guide, surf guide, and just things organically happen. Like I feel like a lot of things in life, if you force it to happen, it's not going to happen. You got to let go sometimes. Yeah, I didn't plan on living here at all. I just came on a 3-month trip. Y2K went well, so I thought, okay, I can go back now. I did go back to the States for a little and been back, but most of the time I've been here the last 2 decades.
Wow. That's so cool. And what did that do for your soul and your being to not have to deal with that stress of everyday life in the States and be able to kind of base your life around going to the beach, riding waves, and kind of everything else in your life leading up to that daily experience and ritual?
Well, it really taught me to live in the moment more than anything and realize that we don't need all these materialistic things that surround us. And if you have a lot of those things down here with the weather, you know, they'll go to waste quick between how rainy and how dry it gets. It's you realize that, you know, these things just get deflated eventually. So they're really meaning nothing, these materialistic things. So anyways, I've learned that, and also just the simple life of just being happy and trying to get in the water every day. And what inspires me is just thinking back when I was a kid and, oh, where would I want to be like at my age now? And I think, man, I would be so stoked back then. This is a life I always wanted to live, and I can't believe I'm living it. And I pinch myself every day thinking about it, try to keep myself in the moment, because I think that's super important.
All of our listeners out there, every single one of them are ready to bring their game up a notch, and I know for a fact we're going to help you guys do it, leading by example, because living in the tropics and surfing every day, it gets your mind into a place that you're never going to know unless you try it. And every surfer in their life deserves at least once in their life to have a full chapter just dedicated to surfing. But the pure essence of it, where you get somewhere, a lot of up and riding time, a lot of full on, you know, leg workout, mind workout, and back to kind of the question, the soul. I mean, your soul just blossoms like a flower when you're a surfer, and you just feed it with all the surfing. And then hopefully the other things in your life can follow suit, which I know in your case they have as well. I do want to ask you one thing, though. What is it that you miss from the old country?
Maybe just a few comfort foods, but then once you get there and have those, you're over it right away. You're like, I just want to be back in the warm weather and good waves. Family, friends, definitely. I'd like to go back to Florida once a year at least, but it didn't happen this year yet. I said, this is always the time of year where I get a little homesick because it's hurricane season there, and the inlet gets really freaking good. It gets, you know, like, I've never been in Duramba, but I've heard it's been compared to that. It's just super wedgy. And when I was there recently, well, a year and a half ago, I just remember feeling like that. It's like maybe people around you change, but the break was still exactly the same. It was still same wave, and I felt right back in the zone, the energy zone, you know. And I came back to Costa, and I was just super, even like double frothed to surf.
Wow.
So yeah, I felt like going back home. It just meant you got to go back to your roots,
Right.
and see how everyone's just so frothed and stoked on surfing, and it's just rad to see, you know. And yeah, so that's what keeps me motivated too. That's another thing. So what about you, T? You grew up over in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And what side?
Yeah, I was from the east side of town as a young little Tola rat, Capitola. And it was, I would call, a very blessed yet complicated youth, because at that point in time there was what I would call a culture clash of all the music and the skateboarding and the surfing and the art, and it was just all happening at such a fast pace at this crazy place. And when you're a little kid and you're able to just kind of like dive into all of it, then it's pretty cool if you come out the other end okay, which a lot of them didn't. Personally, there was so much music influence, like with the punk rock, reggae coming in, hip hop, like all the new freshest music that was coming out was a huge part of all of our lives, me and all my friends. We were going to see Run DMC at like Oakland Coliseum, and all the reggae bands came to Santa Cruz, and punk rock was just going crazy. Like Black Flag was still new and fresh, and so we were going to shows and surfing in the daytime and going to skateboard contests. So just really keeping that, just all those eclectic things in your head as a little kid. It's pretty crazy. And then the whole travel aspect came into it, and I ended up down here in Costa Rica after traveling the world quite a bit and really finding just amazing culture and lifestyle, and got to meet you guys and get on a just everyday surfing program, which is what we as surfers always dream of, is just really just being able to surf. Our whole goal structure, it's really quite simple when you break it down. And I feel if one has the priorities and they dedicate their lives to surfing, the rewards are going to be great. I feel really blessed to live in this beautiful place and have this community of friends that we do have, and spend a lot of time traveling throughout the region. So that's kind of what I'm about these days.
Right on. And I love the camaraderie that comes around along with surfing too, like, you know, the parking lot talk and, you know, everything that goes between the sessions too. But so TR, you say you've traveled extensively. When you were a Grom, like, where was the first place you went and how old were you? And if you can wrap it up in somewhat of a nutshell, I know that'd be hard, but where have you gone since from then until now?
Yeah, that's been a long road, but when I was a really young little pup, I was just dreamt about Australia. And all this old surf movies. Robert Bartholomew is my favorite.
Yep.
And I just wanted to surf Kira, so I saved up with my little dishwashing jobs, and right when I graduated high school, went to Australia and Hawaii. First big trip, 6 months, and that was game changing for me. I knew that I always wanted to travel after that. I just learned so much, and the warm water and the just different lifestyle, and just branching out as a young man. And so early on I had a lot of opportunity to travel surfing and for photography and making videos, and ended up a lot of time in all over Indonesia and Asia, Africa, South America, and eventually in Central America. So that's kind of led my life direction in the last 3 decades solid, because we have world-class waves here and have developed lifestyles around riding those waves, and in my case, filming them like I always have. So enough about gallivanting across the globe. What's going down right now? Portugal. We got a CT event. What's up, Hersch?
Well, the conditions haven't been very super tubos. It's been a little challenging for the competitors, but it's really good to see how these girls and guys adapt to conditions and improvise and overcome. The other day were really challenging conditions, and there's world title hopes on the line and Olympic hopes as well. Women are down to the quarterfinals, and we have Caroline Marks, Steph Gilmore in Heat 1. Who do you think will take that heat, T?
Caroline is just looking too spicy at the moment. I think it's going to be spicy over smooth in these conditions.
Yeah, okay. I agree with you on that one. And we have Sally Fitz against Tatiana Weston Webb.
Ooh, super stoke off. Two sparky girls that love to just flare up. I'm going to have to give it to Sally on this one. I think that she's just does really well in the endurance events, and this has been a long haul, so I got to give it to Sally on this one.
I'm going to make the call that I'm going to agree with you, but if it does happen, that it's going to be within a 0.5 of each other's score. It's going to be super tight, that heat, I think.
She's hard to beat in any conditions.
And she's going for her 4th title. She's fired up, and she already has a few wins, so even a quarterfinal finish would be great for her resume this year. I know we have Lakey and Nikki Van Dyke in the 4th heat. So, and Nikki Van Dyke with this result's going to move up out of she was below the bubble, so she's going to move up and knock Silvana Lima down. But I think Carissa versus Caroline in the final. I'm just going to call, and I'm calling Carissa wins again.
Sick. Let's see it, girls. Bring it.
I mean, I want to see Caroline win. I'm a Florida boy, and
yeah,
she grew up down near where the Hobgoods are from, so she has that same kind of approach.
Absolutely.
And I remember when I surfed with the Hobgoods when they were like 12, 13, I thought these guys are like little Aki clones, and she surfs like Aki.
Absolutely.
So go figure, dude. The apple doesn't fall far from the boulevard, you know?
That's right.
So anyways, so that's the women's side of the event. Then we have the men's side. in a huge controversial moment with the Gabriel Medina interference. It's hard for us to say as armchair surfers to see it online. You can't tell who was paddling out where or who made it into the lineup quicker is what I'm trying to say. So I don't think it's fair for us to judge that. I feel like people just have their own biased opinions on whether they like Medina or not. It was definitely a rookie mistake for a veteran, and he didn't need that way. It was like a crappy closeout right, like maybe one hit. He probably would have done another like full rotation though on it. Who knows? But he didn't need the score. Coyobelli needed like a 9.47 or something, and I don't know what happened there. I guess it was just a bad call on Medina's behalf. Oh, it's Jordy Smith versus Kolohe and Dino first heat.
Oh.
Cool. And because the fact that Medina's out, these other guys have a shot at the title. A couple other guys do now. It's made it interesting. So who do you think, Jordy or Kolohe?
Man, that's a tough call right now. I really, really like Kolohe's momentum in this event, and I like Jordy's momentum in the last several events. So I'm giving it to the California kid on this one. I want to see Kolohe get in the final.
I think, we both probably feel that way. But you never know with Jordy the Beast, especially he smells blood in the water that Medina's out.
Danger.
So Felipe Toledo against Kanoa Igarashi in the next heat.
Ooh, I love this matchup. I just got to give it to Kanoa because he's running on all cylinders, and Felipe, as amazing as he is, has a little bit of limp going. I think you're going to need every bit of juice that you got in the carton to really pull this one out. So, I'm giving it to Kanoa.
I actually agree with you on that one because, Felipe is dealing with that back issue. I don't know how he's just only the fact that he's so freaking young is the way he's dealing with it, I think, in my opinion.
And the heart of a lion.
A heart of a lion. Oh, that's why he has the tat, right? Heat 3, Coyobelli against Pedersen Crisanto, a Brazilian matchup again.
Oh, battle of the Broncos. Pedersen. His punts have been so on point on this event, and he's got the nuggety frame to withstand some of these beach break chunky chunder sections that are getting thrown at him, and surfing with a lot of power and poise also, like under pressure. Got to give it to Pedersen on this one.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, T. And Coyobelli's just stoked to get an equal fifth, I think, at this point. And he's really has not deserved a lot of the bad publicity he's had lately. With not publicity, but the banter from that incident with Medina. Yeah, it's terrible. But anyway, so Heat 4, Italo Ferreira against Jack Freestone.
Well, come on. I'd like to give Jack a little more chance in this one, but Italo is like a snowball rolling down a hill. You just want to get out of the way or get bowled over. He is so gnarly in his... If the wave will allow more than one move, then he's going to do two huge single moves where one person could only do one. And then if it is only one move, then he's either going to blow out his hip and be out for the season, or he's going to pull something crazy and win it. So I'm taking Italo.
He's such a beast. And, did you see those cliffhanger backside, closeout turns he was doing in France and Portugal? It's like, are you serious? He's riding a little more volume like Medina does, in my opinion. I think that's what's helping those free falls become a little more, soft. Not soft, but absorbing the force of the wave. But, and he's it looked like he might be pulling a psoas muscle or something near the hip, like you're talking about, like a groin thing, where he's just pushing so hard. However, with a guy like that having 4 days off, he's gonna be 100% again. Just like Toledo, you never know. These guys are probably taking ice baths and getting ready for. So who's your overall pick? Is where we were getting at, right?
Absolutely. I'm wondering who you got on this.
Italo Jordy final.
Ooh.
Jordy for the win.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're giving it to the big Safa.
Yeah.
And with Robo Surfer out of the race, Jordy is going to be lethal.
I always look at this point in time, though, who hasn't won a CT yet? And it's Kolohe, Pedersen, Coyobelli, and Jack. So we have 4 guys in the draw that have won a CT event, and 4 guys who haven't. And I also always paid attention to how many regulars and goofies are in it. And I picked 6 goofies on my team, fantasy team, and that was to my demise. Anyways, there's only one Goofy left.
Oh.
Italo, the lone Goofy. I have two guys left. It's Italo and Chloe.
Okay.
And I still pick Jordy for the final. I don't know. I don't want to jinx him, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully Italo, Chloe rematch from Snapper, and this time Chloe gets it.
Well, right on. I've got 3 soldiers still in the battle. I've got Kanoa, Italo, and Caio still in there. So a lot remains to be seen on the final day in Portugal. But regarding requalification, I know we've got 2 of the low scores are going to be dropped from their overall total. So taking that into consideration, who's looking good for qualifying next year and who's out?
Looking good is pretty much everyone that's in the top 18 right now. Even Jack Freestone's looking good. He's in 19th. Cardoso is probably safe. And then we have Griffin Colapinto and Yagodora, who are 21st and 22nd, which astounds me because I feel like these 2 guys are going to be the ringleaders in 5 to 10 years. Like, these 2 are going to be going at it, Like, I mean, they're going to be going at it for years, but they're going to be leading the whole cause. So then we have Caio Belli in 23rd, who's definitely going to move up. And we have Pedersen in 28th. So he's going to move up as well, but I don't think he'll get over the bubble. So, yeah, it's anyone's game at this moment in this back half. Jesse Mendez in 29th. He has 2 33rds he needs to drop. On the women's side of the draw, we have Carissa with a stronghold for the lead in the ratings, and then we have Lakey in 2nd. Steph's looking good in 6th. And then in 8th place, Tatiana Weston Webb. 10th place, who's probably going to get knocked down, is Brisa Hennessy from Costa Rica. Nikki Van Dyke's going to move up after this, for sure. And then Savannah Lena, who's been knocked down already. She has 2 injuries this year, so I would think she might get the injury wild card.
Okay. Well, right on. And who do you see getting the injury wild card on the men's side?
I see ADS getting it because he's only served 3 events this year, as well as Mikey Wright. And they both served 3 events. John served 5 events, but it looks like he's going to requalify because he's still in 8th place before Portugal's over. So
I'm curious, that being said, what are your favorite events on tour?
I feel like the bigger wave events like Chopu and Pipe, I really like those. They're super exciting. It shows the true grit of the competitor and how they react in these conditions. And just like anywhere, it can be smaller too during the waiting period, and they have to adapt like all surfers. And that's something I really like as well. TR is the fact how guys have to surf smaller wave events, and they have to be able to be well-rounded in any conditions. I'd like to see Cloud Break back on there because that was one of my favorites for sure. But Snapper rocks. I love Snapper. It's a test of endurance because you got to ride the wave for a while, and it's the opening event of the year too, so that's like a lot of hoopla around that. And the guys have been training for months and dialing their equipment in, and it's cool to see them come out of the gates, and especially like the new rookies on tour, like to see how they're gonna react. Like Griffin Colapinto, what do you get? 5th place in his rookie year there, or 3rd? You got the perfect 10. Man, I really miss trestles. I think a lot of people do.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
one of
with
those
you
high
on that.
performance waves. It really shows anyone's flaws. It really exposes someone, basically, and also flow can really be counted into the criteria on that event.
I love a wave that shows people's combo potential in more than one move, and major series of big moves is super cool to see. And before we move on from the WSL, I know you've done a little bit of commentating yourself in there, and I'm interested to know on how you feel about the WSL commentator team. Like, who are your favorite guys to listen to?
Oh yeah, I did a few events through the years, like a couple QSs down here, El Salvador and Costa Rica, and I also did the Huck and Hack, which is rad, Mike Rigo. I think they're doing a great job in there, and I'd love to be up there one day, but I don't feel like I could hold a candle to those guys, but I love to listen to each one and what they have to bring to the table. And Rosie just has such a buttery voice. You know, I like the whole team. I like the variety, basically.
I'm with you. I'm a big fan of the production that they do, and I love the fact that it's very universal, and like any person of any age can watch it and kind of understand what's going on. It's not too clever and too nichey to where it's going to alienate anybody. And I think that being said, it leaves a lot of room open for other types of shows like the Tour Notes and the Snake Tales and any other show that someone else wants to do, because you know, we're big fans of the sport, and now we're able to watch it online, and it's, I feel, a very special opportunity for us to be able to enjoy it like this.
Yeah, I love it. It's crazy how dedicated us surf fans are. Most sports matches last maybe 3 hours. You know, a baseball game or a football game, or we watch this stuff for 8 hours a day, sometimes even longer for 5 days straight. It's basically like a World Cup of soccer where people just quit their jobs and whatever. That's every 4 years. But this happens to us every 11 times a year. So yeah. We're really dedicated, and man, we're just eternal grommets when it comes to this stuff.
I must agree with you. And that being said, I think it's so cool how the progression has become part of the CT criteria and the QS criteria, of course. And even on the women's side of the draw, if you can throw tail, get above the lip, get modern, you're going to get rewarded on the judging scale, which is a great step away from the three to the beach mentality that was kind of guiding contests in previous days. And now it's even gone into where we have specialty events like the Stab High air show events that, in my opinion, are really leading the progression of the sport, getting all those guys together in the same place at the same time, whether it's a super gnarly wedge in France or even in the wave pool. I think has its relevant place in the progression of surfing. What do you think about that?
I totally agree. I mean, they could almost do a separate tour, like, because there's so many different wave parks coming out. Like, actually, I just saw footage of Dakota Walter over in Australia surfing the Wave Lakes, I think it's called, and they actually, the Aki pool or whatever, it's like this circular thing that
plunger
thing, and they made it, they had the small scale one before, and everyone was kind of like writing it off already, but now they have it on a bigger scale, and I saw footage today of it. It's pretty nuts. It's on Tracks magazine, and it's like solid head high and nuggy. So I was thinking it'd be cool to see a series where the guys had to surf there, Waco, Slater's Pool, left and right, obviously, and then Wave Garden.
And what would you have to say to somebody that's just got their pink panties up in a bunch about all this wave pool stuff, and what would you say to them?
I would say the same thing I told myself is don't be jealous because they didn't have it around when we were 18, and embrace it. Like, man, I'd be stoked to go surf one of these wave pools or all of them. And like the Waco pool, I've heard you're toast, dude. After surfing like a 2-hour session there, you're toast.
Yeah.
It's like surfing, I don't know, 6 hours or 8 hours somewhere else, and you're not gonna have that same ramp every time. And that's the difference of surfing in a pool. In the ocean is the constant terrain. It's super hard. Imagine trying to shoot a hoop in a basketball net and the hoop moved at the last second. So there's no other sport just like surfing. So the wave pools are great because they have a constant terrain, and like Dakota Walters was saying in the special I saw today was you can perfect a single maneuver within 20 minutes to an hour.
Wow.
And imagine that could take you 2 months to 2 years in the regular ocean waves.
So that's got to have an effect on the progression of the sport.
Exactly. I really do think so. And I think eventually they will be able to make waves with 25-foot faces or whatever.
Absolutely.
Gotta have a huge area.
And there's no reason to get threatened or upset by an apples and oranges type of scenario. If you look at skateboarding, they have Street League, which would be equivalent to the WSL, and then they have like Battle of the Barracks, and they have all these different types of specialty events that really are niche and concentrate on a certain aspect of skateboarding. And the vert guys aren't getting threatened that they're having a street contest, or the super gnarly like jockey contest guys aren't tripping on the fact that some other guy devotes himself to filming segments. It's all welcome in skateboarding, and I would love to see surfing have a little bit more of that universality.
Oh, I totally agree. And so what is this Battle of the Barracks you speak of?
Battle of the Barracks is one of the funnest things to watch online on YouTube. It's a game of skate, kind of like a game of horse, where they do all flat ground tricks, and when they spell out the name skate, the first person to spell it out loses. So it's a super fun series, and there's also one in Brazil that's called Slides and Grinds. That's the same concept, but it's on a ledge. So one guy has to do a slide trick, and like a nose slide or a tail slide or a lip slide, and then the other guy has to do one. And then the next person's turn, it's a different type of grind.
I like it.
So the level is so crazy that it's amazing that these guys, they can do the same tricks. The same with flat ground guys and the ledge guys, and most of them can do both. So I think that surfing has a lot to learn from the specialty skate events.
Yeah, I agree, and I think these wave pool things will open more things up. We're gonna have like a corn husker from Iowa up against some guy from freaking Norway. You know, they grew up. We're talking like 20 years time. And there's pools all around. I had this vision like 20 years ago, like Russian world champ. Guy never surfed in the ocean, but he's like world champ of the pool scene.
Well, yeah,
right.
As good as they are at gymnastics and like almost any sport, I think that's a pretty foregone conclusion.
And then like, you know, can't count out the Japanese, and
Same.
well versed, disciplined. Oh man, sky's the limit with these wave pools. I mean, I think all of us, if they said, if you're hating on it, and then the next day you got an email from that wave pool company and said, hey, we're inviting you and your friends to come, are you gonna say no? Come on.
And aside from all these amazing specialty events, we've got incredible grassroots organic movements like the West Coast Board Riders. Are you down with that?
I am totally down with it, and I've been saying it for a while that I think it's be good for the whole U.S. to embrace the Board Riders Club theme, and any country for that matter, to try to battle regions against regions, and for friendly battle, you know, and it's just a good, healthy thing, and I think that's why Australia was kind of ahead of everyone for a while. I mean, you still look at the QS, and like half the guys on there are Australian, and they're all great surfers, and since they're really young, they have to battle it out against guys like, you know, Nathan Hedge, or someone who's like on tour or been on tour, and it's a really good experience for them. It helps them build confidence, and they go to any event around the world and they're ready to go.
Absolutely, it's cultural. That Aussie mongrel spirit comes from the surf club.
It almost started
culture.
with like the lifeguarding, huh?
Exactly,
Like the board
clubbies.
riders. Yeah, exactly.
So there's some amazing roots there that I think we all could learn a lot from. So one really cool thing I find about today's youth is a lot of them are experimenting on the different boards.
Yeah! Oh my God, it's rad.
Did you by chance see the stab video? I think it was called Innocence with Craig Anderson and a group of
I
kids.
actually caught it last week, and in the midst of my busy schedule of surfing and tanning, and joking about the tanning, but yeah, it was rad. I was like so stoked to see how the Groms actually like embraced the idea when he said, you guys can ride any of these boards. You know, Craig said, you know, have all these boards. And then you thought the Groms would be like, maybe, like, I swear in the last 2 decades, people would say, or maybe 3 decades, I'm not riding that thing. Like, my sponsors are paying me to ride this board, and like, full comp board, like, disposable surfboard, like, breaking, you know, after one heat. No. Hopefully the ones for Indo aren't. But anyways, yeah, I was stoked to see how open-minded they were to the boards. And then after they rode them, they were even more psyched. And Craig said, you can ride any of them you want after that. And one of them, like, got damaged, and Craig didn't care, you know. Of course he expected that. But that's what was so rad to see. And the one kid said, I've never ridden anything besides a normal standard shortboard my whole life. Because
And
it's
he
just
was
one of those
ripping.
pampered Grom pro kids, like, I don't mean pampered in a bad way. It's like guided, you know, like that's rad. When you're a kid and you know what you want already, that's freaking rad. So yeah, and he was like that, and then his mind was blown, and then Craig gave the board to Alan Cleland, that one, because he was ripping so hard on it, and Alan was mind blown. So he said, okay, that's yours. So I'd like to see if Alan did get barreled, like he wanted to try in Pasquale's on that board.
Amazing.
So yeah, I did see it to you.
Yeah, I thought that was such a cool project, and just the way that all those kids were surfing on those boards was so inspiring. I think that is kind of a key that's unlocking a lot of the fun in surfing, is riding these different boards, because in different conditions they all call for different tools for the job. And if you roll up and you've got a traditional log, a huge thick single fin, and then maybe some short boards, and then a fishy type of board, and maybe a skim board or something, then and a hammock, and
You got it covered.
yeah, you're pretty much set up day of fun. No
You
matter
almost
what.
don't need a tarp because you got it covered already.
Exactly.
I just got a board with more volume. It's a black box JS, and it's insane. And it almost felt like too much volume at first, but it's putting me in places I've never been on the wave. Like these certain types of smaller waves I've been riding lately. Like it's like helping me get in and get down the line. Like, you know, try to do some squigglies. So yeah, I was riding a fish. The 5'6" fish I was riding was an Alan White shape. It's called the Florida Fish model.
Nice.
Yeah, Alan White out of Cocoa Beach. He's the man, right on Minuteman Causeway. So yeah, and then he shaped me a 7'6" Journeyman. It's called Journeyman. Yeah, and the thing's insane. Like thruster fin setup, futures.
Almost like a fun board.
No, well, yeah, a little bit. No, it's kind of gunned out. I mean, not gunned out, but like, it's pointed nose.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somewhere between a gun and a fun board.
Oh, yeah, a gun board. No.
Have you ridden it out front?
Yeah, man, the reefs out front aren't that good, but it worked good there. Yeah,
sure, buddy.
Man, I did like pretty longest lateral cutback I've done in my life, probably on it. Like, and no one was around, so
It was for the soul.
yeah, it was like a tree falling in the forest, you know, and did it make a sound? I hope the cutback made a sound.
And how about the overuse of the word literal? Literally.
Ugh.
Like, we got to start a new trend saying figuratively. Like, figuratively, that wave blew his head off.
Yes, I'm tripping on all the literal abuse these days. Talked about that. I don't even know when the word started coming up. Hadn't heard that word much in the last, 20 years.
It's trendy.
And all of a sudden it's a trendy word. Thank you. Yeah, whatever. When we were in Mex, someone said it. Red Man. If you guys check out the video, you'll see Red Man. He said, "Oh, my daughter uses that word all the time." So she's 10 years old, and that's where it's at now. It's a trendy word. If 10-year-olds know it, that's the trend.
Absolutely.
So I once we got back from the trip, I started hearing everyone abusing the word literal. So I started saying, this is literal abuse.
Well, what can we do to get figuratively to replace that word so that...
We just got to put the energy out in the world, just like the boomerang effect, like put positive energy out there, and hopefully everything, I mean, not like you're going to expect anything in return, but it's good to just put the energy out there. So we put the figuratively word out there. It's hard for them to say, I think.
Word.
It's hard for me to say.
So how about the video you briefly mentioned, the search for the ultimate salsa?
That was the one that we all filmed, or you filmed.
Yes.
I got some waves that obviously you weren't filming your own waves. That was me filming your waves.
Yeah. So we just did a surf video of our group of friends in Mex. It's on YouTube on our channel called Real Surf Stories is the channel. And the video is called The Search for the Ultimate Salsa. And Hersch, how would you describe this video to people?
It was sort of like a chronological order of our trip. As soon as we landed in Huatulco, Mexico, and went and stayed in the beautiful town there, and it was on. We were looking for the best taco, salsa, all that stuff, and We had an eclectic crew with us, and the waves were going off every day, and we pretty much just went to the same spot because the other conditions, or the other spots, the conditions weren't favorable. But we had the best guide in the world. We had, well, in Mexico, we had Diego Cadena, and he pointed us in the right direction every day, and every day we encountered spicier and spicier. It felt like it was like elevating as we went through the trip. I don't know if that was you guys' thing or.
Yeah, I agree. It was like a reality TV meets a Food Network meets a surf movie. Steez. I think the movie, it kind of clicked all those boxes, and it was fun because the story, it was just kind of what unfolded around us.
When you go on a surf trip, it's not all about just the waves. You know, it's like basically we are like a food trip too. So that was what was pretty cool, and I embraced the fact that, oh yeah, I'm getting up there now, you know, like, so yeah, it's not all about the waves. When you're 16 years old, yeah. But yeah, you guys got to realize peace and love, and it was rad. It was, yeah, it's a trip to remember for a lifetime. I'm stoked we documented it, and you guys go check it out on YouTube.
Kind of moving on from that onto kind of more meaningful movies, without a doubt. I want to talk about some early VHS tapes, surf movies, the VHS days.
What is this VHS you speak of?
These were the days.
Oh, you mean the old big tapes? Oh, okay. Most kids don't know that, but
Yeah. For all of you youngsters out there, VHS tapes were these plastic boxes that had magnetic tape inside that spun around these heads and were played onto a VHS, onto the TV. And so there was surf movies on these things, and they had soundtracks, and they meant the world to us. And what were some of your early VHSs and experiences?
all the Wave Warriors movies.
Yes.
And yeah. Why do you feel like a wild child? Actually, yep, that's Beyond Blazing Boards, where that's coming from. Where Aki did that slaw bear.
Yeah.
We're talking about progression. That was, what was that? 83. And so yeah, so Blazing Boards, Beyond Blazing Boards, and all you Groms out there, if you're listening, check all those videos and Wave Warriors 1, 2, 3, 4, and however many they made. They made a lot of Tweak Freaks and a lot of,
Those were so good.
yeah, a lot of sick ones. You can see Christian Fletcher doing like real errors, you know, like shifties, stuff that like you think, oh, some guy just invented a new trick down the block. No, Fletcher did that in 90 or 85. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. So, okay. Billabong Pump.
Oh, yeah.
Jack McCoy.
Yeah.
All those movies were just so good. Sick Joy, Sons of Fun.
So good.
Yeah, it's incredible. I like your movies, TR, not to flatter you, but O'Neill Ozone was a huge thing for me growing up. That's when I tripped out when I met you. I was just like, you made Ozone? Huh? Are you serious? Above and Beyond, which was like 1996?
Around there.
Yeah, so Rat Boy and who else were in that video?
Yeah, like Flea, Pete Mel. We got some crazy insects, like screaming.
Okay, Nate Acker. See, Barney.
Yeah.
There he is. That's Barney chiming in.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
so
we had Josh Loya and all the Santa Cruz boys, and of course there was also like some travel segos in there, and yeah.
what would like mostly stands out in my memory banks are like the full rotations.
Mm-hmm.
Full rotations, kids out there, 1996 or 95. Let's even say, because that's probably when it was filmed, right?
Yeah.
And then so 1995, full alley oops, full rotations. What else was going down then?
Absolutely. Like, I mean, Flea did a McTwists. You know, Rat was doing full varials and nose pick reverts, and Nate would do all that stuff with style and power. And just, you know, Pete was just lofting huge condor airs, you know, and
like straights.
yeah,
Yeah.
Josh Loya would like wind up and then like just do these rubber band like 720 like front side.
Like over twist.
Yeah, like front side could just spin.
What? Like pre-spin.
Yeah, like
Like he
just
was one
wind
that-
up and then just go like over table rock and then just do like a 360 or two 360s or.
Heavy. That video is still like is a highlight reel today, I think. And yeah, another video I liked, like pretty much the Taylor Steele videos, like Momentums, and yeah, I loved all those. And the soundtracks were sick, like punk bands, and just like, oh man, I can't count out. I'm gonna reverse a little in time. Is Billabong, Surfing the Summer, Filthy Habits.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh man, like, I was doing like behind the back barrels when I was 13, trying to like close out barrels like 2-foot waves.
Trying to be Ronnie Burns?
No, trying to be Jason Buttonshot.
Oh, okay.
But Ronnie Burns, man, huge hero of mine.
In all those movies?
Legend, yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Oh, man.
VHS memories. Those songs, those segments.
That freaking Reunion Island Sego with Ronnie Burns and Aki and
Yeah.
on Pump. And it's amazing what music, like Concrete Blonde, maybe I never would have heard of that band unless Billabong casted him. And they have always done a great job. Bob Hurley, I think, who it was, Bobby, of casting, like TSOL.
Absolutely.
Like, I listen to that music now, and that's what gets me amped. You can fool your body, I think, by music that you hear now. You can actually literally, I think, or figuratively, fool your brain into thinking you're at the same age when you heard it. It's similar to, like, a scent in the air, like, oh, like, that's sandalwood. And you just remember when you're, like, 13 years old, like, because your mom burnt sandalwood. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, fully. It brings you right back.
Oh, I love it.
Smell
That's
of
what
wax.
keeps us young. And obviously, I can't forget the Lost videos. All the Lost tapes. Oh, man, what's really going on? What's really gone wrong?
Yeah.
On the Road with Spike. Lost at Sea. I mean, there's a bunch to name. And those are the tapes that inspired me.
Right.
And, like, you hear these things where people say, oh, we played them out so much, it ran them out. Like, yeah. Some of those...
Ran them all the way through.
Yeah, like, no, it didn't work anymore. Burnt through it, or whatever you want to say. So, TR, what are your most influential movies that you can recall on since you were drum?
Oh, man. Such good memories. I feel like just thinking about that stuff, it takes you back to a certain sets of emotions of just, like, getting psyched to surf, but the thing is, it's not really taking you back because it's still there today. It's almost like it put you in a place that never went away. It's not nostalgia for us, it's real life because we surf every day and we grew up watching people do that and then we manifested that into our reality. And so the movies that did that for me were like my favorites were Jack McCoy movies, like Bunyip Dreaming and Green Iguana. And like all the ones you mentioned, I love those.
Oh, man.
And before those, I really liked Steve Spaulding's movies, Bali High and Totally Committed. Were just totally influential and
I remember those.
just so good. Like made you want to travel and explore Indo, which we did because of watching those movies and getting inspired. And Barrels of Fun was one of my favorite VHS tapes. It was by Dave Nadel and Chris Starling. And those guys would film with Tom Curran all the time and Davey Smith. And so, and the movies back then, the VHSs were long, like I think that one was like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So there's all this footage of Curran just ripping these point breaks, you know, Rincon. And so that was definitely like super, super influential. And like before that was The Performers, Quicksilver. That was, I want to say, around 83 or 84.
Richard Cram.
Richard Cram.
Oh my goodness.
Chappie Jennings and Kong.
Yeah, happy.
Rabbit was still like in his prime. Like Marvin Foster had a Sego in there.
But Richard Cram's
Richard
Powerhouse,
Cram's Powerhouse hacks.
Rule Book,
Yeah, that was a
like
big
Todd
influence.
Morcom influence. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I see.
I could see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was obviously Todd was influenced by Richard. Is what I was trying to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And before that, like all Hal Jepsen's movies, you know, those were on VHS too eventually, but like Super Session and A Sea for Yourself, that would be all those Segos of like Larry Bertelman and those South Shore guys like doing the first kind of roundhouse cutbacks and sliding around and you know, getting their first little ollies and stuff. Like those early CDs also are just as meaningful as those early VHS. We're talking early 80s. The way we listened to our music was cassette tapes, albums, and then CDs came out. It was a new crisp sound. Digital music was born. And I want to ask you, what was the first CD that you bought? And what were you rocking it on?
Oh man, I think it was Blood Sugar Sex Magic by Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yes!
And I had a like jam box I got for Christmas, and it was just rocking it. You know, with it had the tape in the front, tape cassette.
Uh-huh.
If you guys out there, there used to be this like, don't know what that is. There used to be this little cassette tape where you could actually put it in there and play it.
Flip it over, play the other side.
That was pre-CD, and those are gone, and now CDs are gone. So, anyways, yeah, and the CD went on top and had these like double boom speaker, extra boom or whatever it said on it, like advertising it.
How was the sound?
Oh, it's incredible for them. 1990.
The first time you heard the CD, especially the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
And what was yours?
Eric B. and Rakim, Follow the Leader.
Oh boy.
And I was rocking the dopest Blaupunkt sound system in my Ford Tempo, which was this like super generic car, so we'd put the boards in the trunk and we didn't even look like surfers, and the thing had the craziest sound system, and the early sound, it just blew my mind. It had the tweeters up on the dash, and so all the highs were super twisty, and then, you know, hip-hop was just getting really good at that point in time. The beats were getting so much more
African Bambaataa.
complex. That was a little before that, actually. Bambaataa was more like almost like breakdance music, like
Yeah.
Grandmaster Flash, Furious
Did
5.
you breakdance ever?
I did breakdance.
I did too.
Yeah,
You get parachute
I love
pants?
breakdancing. I did have parachute pants, but not at that time.
Could you do the windmill?
Yes, I
Could you do the
that.
super windmill?
What was a super windmill?
It's without using your arms.
Oh, yes.
You could?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh man, that's freaking heavy.
Oh,
I
that
never
was easy.
graduated at level.
I think that it's a lot like dance and gymnastics and that kind of thing. Like, there's kids that can do it and kids that are going to have a tougher time.
Yeah.
But breakdancing is, you know, just part of that whole b-boy culture, and we actually got to do all that stuff, you know, mixing on turntables and graffiti and you know, that we all lived through all of that different stuff. It was just the time that we were raised was when all that was fresh. And it's still fresh in my book.
Oh.
Moving on from the days of nostalgia to present day, there's these certain people that just inspire us. We want to surf with them. Why? Because we've never heard them use the phrase over it. So we present to all you viewers our anti-over it team.
Oh, I like the idea. Who we got, T? Who's on the roster?
Well, I'm just going to right out of the gates put on Benny Bourgeois.
Oh, yeah.
Benny Bourgeois, I've never heard him say the word, I'm over it. Rips in any style of wave. He's always motivated to surf. So who are you going to throw on the squad?
Mason Ho.
Mason Ho has got to be on there.
Yeah. But, who else?
Got to throw on all Gudauskas brothers. And how about any positive vibe warrior just straight on the team?
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of grandfathered in.
Team anti-over it. We gotta throw Sabian on the team.
No, but they are Sabians on there for sure.
Forrest, Folger.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I think we had 2 people a week
Yeah.
or something, you know, like
Exactly.
or however many.
That's a good
We're
hype.
gonna-
That's
right?
a hype squad so
Right?
far. Yeah.
Like Benny B is first pick ever,
Yeah.
and then second would be like Mason,
Yep.
which is kind of gnarly.
Yeah.
Like most people in the world would think like Mason be number 1,
Yeah.
but they don't realize the clout Benny B carries, and like he's been around little longer.
How about some travel tips for some of our listeners?
Yeah, TR, what are your tips for people out there?
Okay, I'll give a first travel tip. I love the what I call real slow philosophy, because a lot of the cultures that we visit that have these amazing waves adhere to a very slow pace of life. So if you come from the Western world and you're very impatient and in a hurry, you tend to use the term real quick or real fast in your daily life. Can we stop by the store real quick? Can I do this real quick? Do that real quick? That phrase in this region will do you no good. So my travel tip is real slow. Anytime that you say real fast, just say to yourself real slow. That way, when it happens real slow, that's the normal pace down here, and you won't be disappointed. And if it happens fast and efficiently, that's not normal. That's extra bonus points. That's my travel tip for the day. How about you, Hersch Dog? What's one of your travel tips for our eager to travel listeners?
Pack lighter than you expect. Or if you want, throw like all your clothes in your board bag, and at the end of the trip, like give them out to all the locals. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then come back more empty-handed. Even give your board back, and you could squeeze your board bag into your suitcase,
Mm-hmm.
and then you come back with no travel bag fee for your board. So you save $150, and you just stoke some young Grom out, give him a board, and then everyone else, like his grandma and mom, have like a couple of T-shirts and stuff. So it's a freaking cool cause.
That's a fantastic travel tip.
Do you have another travel tip or ST?
Absolutely. My number 2 travel tip today is to travel with your own little jar of salsa. Like, get a nice one that you really like, that has good shelf life. It doesn't have to be refrigerated. And bring that little bottle of hot sauce with you everywhere you go. And if you like spicy food, you can throw that on just about any meal, and it's going to bring it to life, and it's a flavor that you already love. And that's my travel tip number 2 of the evening is bring your salsa. So what's your number 2 travel tip for the evening, Hersch Dog?
A walk without leaving footprints.
Okay.
Yeah, get to a place and don't be like, oh, narcissistic, thinking like, oh, I'm gonna leave it better than I can.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that. You can't make a place better than it was, you know.
Correct.
So yeah, just go there and like respect. Is what I'm trying to say. Respect in this whole deal. Eso.
Those darn do-gooders. In Coach's Corner this week, we're really lucky to get some first-hand advice from Brad on a topic that we all have to deal with from time to time, which is surfing in crowds. I notice that you always seem to get a lot of waves. You always seem to have a smile on your face. What are some of your tips?
I would just say like be aware of your surroundings and look at the crowd before you even paddle out. Like, where's the crowd at? I'm either gonna paddle out south or north of them, or wherever you're adjacent to in your coastline.
So don't be a sheep.
Don't be a sheep. Work the lineup inside out, like on your way out, your first wave. Like maybe you see like a corner come in, tag it, you know, tag it, dow, twice.
So utilize the energy center of the wave.
Yes. And then sharing is caring.
Okay.
Like, you're not gonna drop in on the next guy. You gotta realize that guy's been out there already. You know what I mean? Like,
You have to take that into consideration,
Yeah.
people.
and then like look at the lineup. Compare them to circus animals. Is there a donkey? Is there like a giraffe or is there a buoy? There's actually a buoy.
Right.
It's not a circus animal, but and then like, okay, that guy hasn't caught shit, and like, this guy's cool, and this person can't even get to their feet. And
Right.
sometimes it takes you to waste a wave to learn that,
Right.
but you always got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Correct.
So, if there is an encounter where you eventually get away with one of these guys, you know, a sheep or a donkey gets in your way or drops in on you, like, brush it off, dude. It's not worth it.
That's right.
It was like 5 seconds of your life. You know what I mean?
So don't gripe about it.
Yeah, brush off encounters.
Okay, I think that's important.
And then sharing is caring. Sometimes, like, there'll be a little wave rolling through, and you're out the back. You already had a couple, you know, by now, because you, like, collected a couple on the inside.
Yeah.
So
as
now
as you tend to do. Share
And
a little
then-
finally.
And then you see this person, like, man, that guy's been struggling, or whatever. You don't even really...
He's in the spot finally.
Yes, and you just go ahead. Like, not like it's my wave to give him. This is stupid because I
But
read
you
an
could
article.
have
like-
taken it if you wanted.
Exactly.
And you didn't. And that's sharing and that's caring.
Exactly. It could be contagious, like give love, get love, but at the
Correct.
same time without any kind of expectations.
Correct.
But at the same time, I feel like the amount of masses that are learning how to surf in this day and age, it's hard for them to learn, or maybe they're not learning the whole etiquette. Like, they don't know the whole blueprint of how this thing works. Like, you paddle out at a break, like we were talking about. Okay, let's go adversely right now, what I just talked about.
Right.
A guy paddles out at that break with 30 people out, and it's a split peak decision, split peak soup. And he paddles out and he gets in the way right off the bat. It's one thing, you guys gotta paddle out around everyone. Go out wide and catch the shoulders. Like, those are actually some of the best ones. Just work your way into the lineup is my basis of this whole thing. Work your way out, like, just go out and like catch a wave mid-break, and then maybe, no, don't graduate up there. You haven't earned it yet. You gotta give yourself your own little like personal quota. Yeah, and then okay, I got a good one. Now I can go. I gotta get another good one before I go out further.
The insect stopped.
I would like to give a shout out to John Mel, who won his first QS event. He won the 1500 QS event in Porto, Oaxaca Pro, presented by Corona.
I was so sick.
Yeah, it's so psyched. He's now 103rd on the QS. He's just outside the primes. He won't be in the Hawaiian events. I mean, he's probably like down on the alternate list, but he won't be in them. But next year he's going to have a great seed.
How's Carlos Munoz and Noemar McGonigal doing?
Well, Carlos is 16th on the QS. He's going to Hawaii strong.
Okay.
And then Noemar's way down. He's working on it. Yeah. He's out of the primes.
Okay.
Man, for the QS this year going into Hawaii, oh man, we're looking at like Liam O'Brien from Australia. He's really close. There's like a notable handful of Australian kids I've been keeping my eye on, and it's Morgan Sibilich, who's in 16th, and then the third Australian who I think is making big moves is Caleb Tancred, 24th. Those are like the three young. I'm almost comparing with like the Dingo, Parko, Fanning. You know what I mean? Back in the day, the three, like, these guys are like super young, and they're making moves. I mean, look at it. They're in respectively like 24th, 16th and 13th. So right on the bubble, and right above Liam is, because there's a couple double qualifiers. We have Baron Mamiya, Matt Banting. Yeah, so those guys are above the bubble. Those guys have a target on their backs. And then we have Carlos is in 16th, and Nat Young 19th, Santa Cruz. You.
Nice.
Yeah. So we got to look at these guys' scores too. Like, what are they dropping, and what are they trying to replace? Because they only keep their top 5 QS scores of the year. Long shots. Aiden Massenkamp, South Africa. Luke Gordon, He is at 47th place, and he's won a 1,000 and a 3,000 this year. First time. Amazing. So yeah, but up closer into the cut, we have Evan Geiselman at 22nd. I'd love to see him on tour, and it'd be partial, but it's crazy. There's 4 Goofy Foot Brazilians in the top 4.
Wow.
And then there's Sammy Pupo 9th. So 5 of the top 10 are Brazilian. 4 of them are Goofy. And all of the primes have been won by Brazilians. Yeah, the storm is not going away anytime soon. Jake Marshall, the lone American on tour. Well, he should be on tour. He's in 5th right now. His lowest score to replace is a 1550. I think he's pretty much got the CT on lock. And then our next USANs, besides Nat Young and Evan Geiselman, is Griffin is in 37th place, which is a footnote. He's qualifying right now, but he's on the bubble. So he's in 37th. However, he's done really well in Hawaii. Cam Richards, 38th place. Women's side of the QS, we have Amuro Suzuki from Japan in 5th place, making a big push. She's behind a couple heavy hitters of Tati and Isabella, Sage Erickson, and Bronte, who's winning the QS right now. In 6th place, Caroline Marks. Alyssa Spencer, 7th place. Zali Kelly in 9th after her last win.
Whose surfing are you the most stoked on right now on the CT? Not like competition wise, but just pure nuts and bolts surfing. Who are you really enjoying more than anyone right now?
Yago, Dora, and Griffin. But I feel like they haven't had the right platform.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of trippy too because they're right on the bubble, 23rd, 24th.
I might have to choose at this point Julian Wilson, just because his airs are so good, and also his tube riding and heavy water act is second to none. His carves obviously are impeccable. So
What about Medina?
the Robo Surfer so far ahead of the other dudes in on the competition realm. But as far as just like nuts and bolts, pleasing, spontaneous, like natural surfing, Robo Surfer doesn't make it onto my list.
What about Baby Goat?
He'll defy the odds
Yeah,
and come back stronger than ever.
yeah.
More than likely because he's a freak. I think that all of you listeners out there should go over to our brand new Instagram. Yeah, since you're on the Maiden Voyage with us here, it is the Surfcast on Instagram, and the Real Surf Stories YouTube channel is going to have links and videos to a lot of the stuff that we're talking about on here. And really what we want to do is just entertain, help, and inspire you guys with fun and quirky, knowledgeable stuff. We jump all over the place. We like to kind of verbally freestyle and climb into different rooms of your brains and open up doors, and we'll even go into closets and dust out dusty boxes of VHS and go into just really try to bring up those emotions that make you remember why you are who you are. You're a surfer. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to my words right now. What we all have in common is that we love to surf, and it's just this magical activity. It's like part sport, part art, part discipline, that when you get into it, it is so fulfilling that it can change people's lives. It can change their priorities. There's been numerous divorces. There have been deaths and suicides and anything that you can imagine stemming from what we like to call surf fever. This is the real hardcore surfers hub. It's called the Surfcast. Why? Because we surf and we talk all things surf. I'm TR. I'm with my co-host Brad Hersch.
Yeah, you guys, all you castaways, hope to see you next venture.
Is this enough? Visualizing, paddling out and making it real. Dedication, on a level only you can feel. Motivation, it gets stronger every year. Realization, action cures fear. The Surfcast, yeah.
Is this enough? 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 Is this enough?